You're listening to the Reds Podcast.
This is episode number 130, 10 seconds of video, brought down one of the nation's largest fraternities this week. I'm going to talk about what you can learn from it and how to protect your business from having something similar happen. That's coming up.
This is the Red Podcast. Real entrepreneur development. Make more money, work less, and live a life of freedom. No BS advice that really works. Here's your hosts, David Hooper and Laurel Staples.
6 days ago, I was on Twitter and a video came up. Clicked on it because I thought the headline was interesting, and it had about 300 views at the time. Since then, that video has gone on to get tens of millions of views and started a national discussion. I'm talking about two fraternity guys, Parker Rice and Levi Pettit from SAE fraternity at Oklahoma State University. These guys were leading a chant that was disturbing to a lot of people, to say the least. Unless you've been living under a rock, you've heard this chant probably dozens of times. I walk by televisions in the airport, they're talking about it. Turn on the radio, they're talking about it. I don't want to assume anything, though, so I'm going to play this 10-second clip.
There'll never be a USA. There'll never be a USA. You're hanging from a tree, but it'll never stop me. There'll never be.
Disturbing, right? You've heard it. Some people can't believe that this would happen today. Other people think, hey, this is happening all the time. You know, me personally, I spent 5 years in Memphis. I've lived in Mississippi as well. I've heard this kind of thing, and nothing surprises me. And I don't bring this up to get into the issue of race relations in America or are fraternities racist. Let's not go there. What I want to talk about is how 10 seconds of video, in this case, but also audio, can change everything. It certainly changed it for the SAE, the fraternity guys at Oklahoma State University. It's a lot of bad publicity for Oklahoma State University. Both of these guys that I mentioned, Parker Rice and Levi Pettit, they've been expelled. The other guys in the frat who were living in the frat house, they've had to move out. 2 people lost their jobs, all from about 10 seconds of video. Now, this is something that can happen to any business. If it's not you saying something, it could be one of your employees. We're all at risk for this, so I want to talk about some of the issues that businesses face and what you need to know about this incident. First of all, you can never assume that everybody in your audience will agree with you. Parker Rice, he got comfortable. He was with people who looked just like him. They had the same job. They were students. They were attending the same school. And because of that, he felt safe letting loose a little bit. They've looked into this guy's history. He was from a very homogenous background, homogenous neighborhood, went to a Catholic school, homogenous student body. He was surrounded with people that he felt were just like him. But just because people look like you and they dress like you, it doesn't mean that they are just like you. I'm not just talking about frat guys. I'm talking about everybody. I'm talking about you. I'm talking about me. For example, I mentioned living in Memphis, living in Mississippi. A lot of times things would happen to me there where, because I'm a white male, people would assume I had a certain political slant or a certain thought on race relations. They would say things to me that they wouldn't have said to somebody who didn't look like me. I've been in the music business for a long time. You think everybody's liberal, or maybe if it's the country business, you think everybody's conservative. Not the case. You can never assume just because somebody looks like you or dresses like you, works in the same business, they're from the same place that you are. You can't assume that they feel the same way that you do. 10 years ago, I was on stage, about 300 or 400 people there. This was my own event. I had brought all these people to Nashville. It was a music business event. We were talking about music marketing. I was in charge. I wasn't worried about representing anybody but myself. And this was a time when George Bush was president. The United States is going to war. And I simply made a comment. They called this war Operation Iraqi Freedom. And I made the joke that it should have been Operation Iraqi Liberation, OIL, oil, because I felt that it was all about oil. Simple comment, off-the-cuff joke during one of my speeches. When I came off stage, a woman that I communicated with during the event earlier walked up to me and she said, "The woman beside me," she was very offended by that comment. And again, I thought this was just an offhanded comment. She immediately left. She's up in her room. She's not going to come back down. She's done with this event. Just one little thing that I said had set this woman off to where she walked out, left, totally disregarded my message. She'd come to Nashville to see me, to be part of this event. and that ruined everything. The next week, I was in my office. I got a phone call. It's this woman who had left my event, went back to her room, didn't come back down. And she called me in my office, and this was her perspective. Her husband was at war. He was actually sent there in Iraq. He was in danger, and that colored everything. I'm going to read into this a little bit. I don't know exactly how she was feeling about that, but I imagine it was very scary. Her husband could be in harm's way. He could be in danger. He might come back with psychological damage. Maybe he's going to come back in a body bag. So I listened to her, very angry, didn't want to hear my side of the story, and it wasn't the time for that. She didn't want to hear what I had to say about the war. She was there for music marketing. She didn't want to hear any of that. If you're a blogger, if you're a podcaster, if you do public speaking, you have to think about this. Now, we've seen this recently in the Grammys where people that we pay to make music, we buy their music, go to their shows, buy the T-shirts and related merchandise that's related to their music. These guys at the Grammys would win a music award and then get political on us. Talk about sex trafficking, talk about racism, talk about very good things. But is that the time and place for it? And I think that's what we all have to think about when we're in the public eye, when you're writing a blog, when you've got a podcast, when you're speaking. Why are people coming to you? And it's not necessarily that. Now, if you can make change in the world, I think that's very good. But know that not everybody is going to agree with that. Rule number one, you shouldn't assume everybody in the audience will agree with you. You could give $1 million right now to help the homeless. Somebody is going to disagree with you. So don't make the assumption that everybody is going to love you, even if you have the so-called right reason in your heart. Don't make the assumption that everybody has the same religious philosophy, political philosophy, or social philosophy. That's just not the case. Ask yourself, why are people here to see me? And think about that. Now, I'm not telling you that you shouldn't get into religion, get into politics, get into anything that you want to get into, but just know not everybody's going to agree with you. Because of what I said 10 years ago, this woman walking out, this woman calling me the next week, I'm more aware of what I say on stage. But let me tell you about something that happened to me just this week when this issue was on my mind because of what happened with the SAE fraternity. Now, just this week, I was on Facebook. I liked something on Facebook. Two things, actually. One was satire. It was a graphic, very similar to The Onion, and it was on the topic of religion. The second was a political commentary. I simply hit like. I didn't make any comments. That was it. Like of the graphic, like of the political commentary. Then I got an email from a client. She wrote, "Perhaps we should have a conversation sometime about the wisdom of using the same Facebook account for business and personal use. I'm finding some of your posts hurtful and ignorant and misguided, and it's causing me to question how much I should be relying on you to guide my career." I thought about it. I don't post things like that. So I thought, I don't post anything. Again, because of what I'd said on stage a few years ago, I think before I post. So I asked her, "Can you point me to the specific post? I don't recall posting anything about those topics." Her response, "Okay, not post, likes." Likes! I clicked a link. Thumbs up link on Facebook. And let me tell you what I think about likes and what I do with likes, how I handle these. When I'm going through my initial Facebook feed, just kind of catching up on what's happening in social media, when I see something that I remotely agree with, I'm going to like it. If you've had something happen in your life, whether it's a birthday, an anniversary, you've got a new product out, you had a phone call from your grandmother and it made you feel good, I'm going to like that. Because I feel that it's important that we support each other in social media. It's just a community, like me hanging out with you as friends. And if I had something good happen to me, if I'm releasing a product, I'm going to want support on that. I do this with books that people release. If you've got a book that you're releasing and you're my friend, you let me know about it, I'm going to go buy it because I believe in supporting people. And this is an easy way for me to do that because I know what it's like when you release something to the internet, whether a product or even a post, and nobody responds to it. Still, though, when you like something, somebody else is not going to like it. Not everybody is going to agree with you, and you've got to think about that when you're getting into debates about Fox News or religion or whether CrossFit is the best way to work out or whether you should be vegan or whatever the hot topics are on Facebook. Dogs versus cats, Ford versus Chevy, it doesn't matter. You're going to agitate somebody. And you've got to know that everything you put on the internet is being watched. So let's go back to the fraternity and talk about the second rule, because this has to do with what you do online. Everything is being recorded. And when you're giving a speech or even a racist chant like these fraternity guys, rule number 2, you should assume that somebody is recording what you say and that the recording will be posted online, just like any comment that you make on Twitter, Facebook, or whatever the hot social media is. If you're doing something live, somebody is recording you. There are people that are just waiting for you to say something controversial, or if not waiting, at least when it does happen, willing to post that information. You can't go anywhere without somebody having a mobile phone on them that doubles as a video camera. If you've been to a concert lately, some people aren't even present. They're not paying attention to the concert. They're more worried about taping it so they can watch it later or brag to their friends that they were there. Everybody has a mobile phone that doubles as a video camera. And you'd think somebody like these frat guys, millennials like Parker Rice, would know that. But again, that's where the comfort comes in. We don't think that it matters. We don't think that somebody's going to put something up online, or we don't think if they do put something up online, that somebody's going to find it. But this is like Miss America. If she's done porn or some kind of nude scene before she was Miss America, somebody's going to find it. If you reach a certain level of success, somebody is going to find it. And you've got to think, do I want this recorded? And you've got to assume when you're speaking in public, unless it's you and maybe a spouse, somebody that you really trust, and that doesn't even necessarily mean that this won't happen, you've got to assume that somebody is recording what you're doing. Here's another lesson from this whole frat debacle. When somebody points a camera in your face, that's an obvious sign that what you're saying is going to be put online. The house mom from the SAE fraternity at Oklahoma State University, she's saying all sorts of stuff that I know she's regretting right now. It's a 6-second Vine video. These videos that brought this thing down, we're talking 10 seconds and even 6 seconds for a Vine video. That's all it takes. And this is rule number 3. Perception is reality. It doesn't matter what you meant. It doesn't matter where your heart was. It's how those actions are perceived. That hooker on the side of the road that you're picking up because her car broke down, yeah, she's still a hooker. Don't pick her up. You know, and speaking of that story, and this is why I bring it up, that's what Eddie Murphy claimed when he was pulled over after picking up a transsexual prostitute. Now, I'm not saying that he was picking her up for any kind of sexual favors. He claims that she just needed a ride. But nevertheless, there was a transsexual prostitute on the side of the road. Eddie Murphy picked her up. The cops pulled him over. I want to leave you with this, going back to the fraternity again. Those 2 guys leading that chant, are they racist? I don't know, but the chant sounds racist. Rule number 3, perception is reality. Is there just one truth? Absolutely not. It's like the movie 50 Shades of Grey. There's millions of shades of gray. We don't know what was in those guys' hearts. We don't know. But does the public care about knowing? Usually not. I've never seen that happen, not just on this issue, but every issue. There are lots of people who simply want something that's stimulating and that confirms their own biases. If you're not familiar with the concept of confirmation bias, we've talked about it a little bit here on Red Podcast, but look it up, confirmation bias. And basically what that means is we keep searching until we find something that matches what we're already feeling, and then we stop. We don't look beyond the initial story. That's why conservative people love Fox News. They think that it actually is fair and balanced. And more liberal people, they're going to go for MSNBC. We want something that matches how we feel. Let me recap these 3 rules. 1, you shouldn't assume that everybody in your audience agrees with you. And that's not just on stage. That's podcasts, blogging, Twitter, Facebook, anywhere you are. It could be just a small group of people at your table for dinner. Don't assume that everybody at the table will agree with you. Number 2, you should assume that somebody is recording what you say and that the recording will be posted online. Where are all these cameras? There's tons of cameras. Everywhere you go, there's cameras in the streets. There's people filming. Cameras. Everybody's got a phone. It doubles as a camera. Everything is being recorded, not to scare you, but it's definitely a Big Brother kind of thing. But it's not Big Brother. It's a little brother. It's all of us recording each other. You are being recorded. Number 3, of course, perception is reality. And a lot of times, most of the time, in fact, you, me, and everybody, we search until we find something that confirms our own bias. Then we stop. End of story. Thanks so much for listening to Red Podcast. Subscribe via iTunes. Just search for Real Entrepreneur Development. Hit the subscribe button when you pull up iTunes, and we will come to you 3 days a week. And we've got our own app now. If you're interested in that, also on iTunes, just look for the iPhone, the iPad app. We've got one for Android as well on the Google Play Store and also Amazon App Store. If you've got questions, comments, think I'm a complete idiot, send it at David Hooper on Twitter or redpodcast.com, where you can find back episodes and be able to get in touch with me directly. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this issue. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you on the next episode.
You've been listening to Red Podcast, Real Entrepreneur Development. Subscribe today using iTunes, Stitcher, or via RSS at redpodcast.com.